Have you ever heard of someone vanishing into thin air with no trace, no witnesses, and only bizarre clues left behind? In this episode of Watchers of the Unknown, we delve into 5 of the most chilling missing person cases in history. Each story is real, each detail is unsettling, and to this day, none of them have been solved. These are the people who vanished and left behind questions that may never be answered. Top 1. Brandon Swanson. The call that ended in silence. Location: Minnesota, USA, 2008. Brandon Swanson was just 19 years old when he disappeared under baffling circumstances. On the night of May 14, 2008, after celebrating the end of his college semester with friends, Brandon attempted to drive home. Around midnight, he called his parents, saying he had accidentally driven into a ditch on a rural road. He didn't seem distressed. In fact, he was calm and composed, asking them to pick him up. As his father drove out to find him, Brandon stayed on the phone, describing his surroundings and walking along the road to make himself easier to locate. The call lasted over 45 minutes. Then, without warning, Brandon abruptly said, "Oh my God," and the line went silent. Despite an extensive search involving ground crews, helicopters, and bloodhounds, Brandon was never found. His phone remained active for hours, but was never used again. Dogs tracked his scent to the edge of the Yellow Medicine River, but couldn't determine if he had crossed it. What did Brandon see in that final moment? Why was he never heard from again? To this day, not a single clue has explained his sudden disappearance. Top 2. Lars Mittank, the man who ran from the airport. Location: Varna, Bulgaria, 2014. Lars Mittank, a 28-year-old German man, was vacationing in Bulgaria with friends when he suddenly began acting strangely. After a minor dispute and an ear injury, Lars chose to stay behind while his friends returned home. He began texting his mother, claiming he was being followed and warning her not to trust anyone. He checked into a cheap hotel near the airport and was captured on surveillance footage, pacing nervously, hiding in an elevator, and peeking out of doors as if someone was after him. He even texted his mother, asking about antibiotics, even though his doctor had cleared him to fly. On July 8, 2014, Lars entered Varna Airport to catch a flight back to Germany. But within minutes, he ran out of the terminal, leaving behind all of his luggage. Cameras captured him sprinting across the parking lot and into a forested area. He was never seen again. What caused such intense paranoia? Was he experiencing a psychological episode? Or was someone really following him? No trace of Lars Mittank has ever been found. Top 3. Maura Murray, the crash that led to nowhere. Location: New Hampshire, USA, 2004. Maura Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student, emailed her professors on February 9, 2004, claiming there had been a death in the family and that she would be gone for a few days. This wasn't true. That evening, she drove into the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Around 7:30 p.m., Maura crashed her car into a snowbank along a rural highway. A local resident stopped to help, but Maura insisted she had already called roadside assistance. The man drove off, but when police arrived, less than 10 minutes later, she was gone. Her car was locked. Her belongings, including her cell phone and credit cards, were left inside. No footprints in the snow, no witnesses, no sign of struggle. Despite extensive searches, Maura was never found. The reasons behind her trip, her fabricated excuse, and her actions remain one of the most confounding missing person cases in American history. Top 4. Elisa Lam, the elevator surveillance footage, location, Los Angeles, USA. 2013, Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student, checked into the infamous Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles in January 2013, hiding in the corner, stepping in and out as if someone was following her. At times, she appeared to be speaking to someone who wasn't there. 2 weeks later, her body was found floating in one of the hotel's rooftop water tanks. Hotel guests had complained about water pressure and odd tastes. Her clothes were found at the bottom of the tank, but there were no signs of physical trauma or foul play. Top 5. The Sodder Children, the fire with no bodies. Location, West Virginia, USA, 1945. On Christmas Eve, 1945, a fire consumed the Sodder family home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. George and Jenny Sodder escaped with 4 of their 9 children. The remaining 5 were presumed dead in the fire. But as the ashes cooled, no remains were found. No bones, no teeth, nothing. Experts said the fire wasn't hot enough to fully cremate bodies. The Sodders began to suspect foul play. Sightings of the children were reported across several states. A billboard with their pictures stood for decades along the highway, begging for information. Years later, the family received a photo of a young man who resembled one of the missing boys, mailed anonymously from Kentucky. Were the children kidnapped? Did someone use the fire as a cover-up? Over 75 years later, the fate of the Sodder children remains unsolved. These 5 stories defy logic and continue to haunt the families left behind. The clues left in their wake raise more questions than answers. What really happened to them? If you found this episode intriguing, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Watchers of the Unknown. Stay curious. Stay watching.